Hello, folks. Thanks for joining the Crime Dawg Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny FIORICA. Sitting alongside me, my trusted co-host, David Simpson. David, welcome to the pod, bro.
Happy to be here, Johnny. Thank you.
So we have to address a incident that happened in the recent past. It was on the news in the last couple of days. A woman was assaulted in the northwest quadrant of Rochester, New York. She was assaulted. Her name was Salida Johnson. She's a 35-year-old victim. She's kind of lumped up. She's got a black eye. I think she's got a broken nose. She said she was assaulted at a convenience store after an altercation with somebody inside the store in front of her 7-year-old child. Her bone of contention is the fact that no police or ambulance showed up to assist her. Danny, roll the clip.
The Rochester mother says she was brutally attacked by a stranger right in front of her child.
She's now sharing her story and what she says was the lack of response by first responders.
Good evening, Matt, Karen. The vicious attack happened July 27th and lasted nearly a minute long. Her 7-year-old son was by her side as it happened. A warning, this video is violent. This is the moment a Rochester mother says she was viciously beaten inside of a convenience store on the city's north side.
When he came in, the argument started about him basically like he bum rushed my child, and I basically got in an argument and checked him about it.
35-year-old Salida Johnson says she suffered a broken nose and a fractured orbital. It allegedly started after the man bum-rushed her 7-year-old son, Achilles, while the two were shopping for gum and chips. Other customers called 911. One witness who asked to remain anonymous says Johnson and her son sat behind the counter waiting for the ambulance for nearly 2 hours.
There's no one show up, no ambulance, no police officer. And she been bleeding from her nose and eyes.
That's when Johnson decided to take matters in her own hands.
Police never came. First responder never came. Had to take an Uber.
Rochester police tell me although no arrests have been made, the incident is still an open investigation.
Folks, this is a we told you so moment. And I'm sorry to act arrogant. And I'm sorry if the Crime Dawg Podcast is coming across as showboaty the last couple episodes, but we told you so. And David, what we told everybody about was Mrs. Johnson got no police service. And just so everybody knows, when there is a physical assault with physical injury, the ambulance is not going in anymore. They're not going in first, just so everybody knows. If the cops don't go, the ambulance aren't going. And the ambulance will stage, so AMR, it's not their fault. They will stage up the street a block, 2 blocks away, and when they know that police are on scene, they will roll in and assist with medical attention. And I don't blame AMR for that because they have civilian staff, non-cops, and they are not armed. Some of them wear bulletproof vests. That's voluntary, I think. But at the end of the day, their safety is paramount, and they're not going in. So Ms. Johnson's bone of contention was first responders didn't show up. Now, the I told you so from the Crime Dawg Podcast, David, is we told you so. 2020 riots. Okay? We've talked about this ad nauseum since we hit the live switch 7-8 months ago with the podcast. 2020 riots, defund the police, reimagine the police, whatever term or vernacular you want to use. But everybody had the target over the cops' backs. We talked about this in a recruitment segment. We talked about how recruitment and people are leaving the police department in droves. So not only do you have retirees that are leaving, like ourselves, well, we didn't leave because of 2020, but retirees that left after 2020, and you have recruits that are not going into the academy. You have people that are not taking the test anymore. So now it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, so don't quote me, but I think the RPD, where we used to walk around 725, 750 plus, we are now at 600 or below 600. So Ms. Johnson, I know you're upset and you have every right to be upset. I apologize because you were the victim of a crime. I don't know the circumstances why you were assaulted. Okay, I do not know that, and I'm not going to get into the particulars of your crime. But I'm going to tell you, don't be mad at the RPD. Don't be mad at Chief David Smith. You need to be mad at the 2020 protesters. Okay, the people that were out there to defund the police, the people that were dragging my brothers and sisters' names through the dirt. Because now what you have is you have a diminished police department, right, David? You have a police department that is no longer staffed like it should be.
Correct. And you can't leave out the fact that the politicians who supported those riots and totally put out rhetoric slamming the police and making it an impossible job and a job that wasn't a viable option for a lot of people to come into because they didn't want that wrath that the police were getting. And thus the numbers are down and dropping and there is no one coming. You can call 911, but if there's no one to send because they're all tied up on other priority jobs, you don't get any police service. So what happens when you defund the police or make people not want to be police and make the numbers drop? What happens is no one comes. You're all by yourself. No one's protecting you from the boogeyman.
And here's what we're going to say. Miss Johnson, again, we totally, our heart goes out to you. We know that you were injured. We saw it on the news. Our heart is with you.
Shouldn't have happened. And
it should not have happened.
Whatever it was, probably shouldn't. You should never assault a female. So whatever happened, I'm very sorry it happened. But
right. But Miss Johnson, we want you to know that this is a direct result of the 2020 riots. This is a direct result. Okay. We are doing the blame game. Okay. We blame politicians. We blame whoever. But all those protests that said, F the police are bad, defund the police. What happened was during that time, there was people that wanted to become cops.
Well, actually, it said F the police, by the way. Yeah. It said F the police, and it said fry the pigs.
Yep.
Remember all those
pigs in a blanket?
Pigs in a blanket. Yeah. Let's be real about what they were saying. I'm not regurgitating anything that's improper. I'm repeating what I'm quoting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were doing protests. Pigs in a blanket. Fry them like bacon, F the police. And they were saying a whole bunch of stuff. And this is what you get. You have Miss Selena Johnson not getting a police service now because there's not enough cops and they're spread too thin. That's the reality of it. And if anybody's telling you any different, Miss Johnson, they're lying to you.
They're lying to you to cover their ass because they're the politicians that put you in this position. So your first call to complain should be to your city council person in your district and your county ledge in your district, and then your state assembly person. And that's where you should direct your wrath.
Right. And
because they're all Democrats and they all wanted to defund the police.
And to all the politicians who supported the 2020 riots. Now, I want to be very clear on something. We support everybody's legal right to protest. Okay? We do. But when it got to the level of 2020,
of burning cars, assaulting
burning cars, robbing sneaker stores, breaking into Rite Aids and Walgreens, that's not protesting. Okay.
That's anarchy.
Right. It's anarchy. We have a job to protect people that are protesting, peaceful protesters. Okay. So again, Miss Johnson, don't knock on the door of Chief Smith and blame Chief Smith. Don't knock on the door of the public safety building and say, hey, where was the police response? We're telling you exactly where the police response was. It was nowhere because our brothers and sisters are stretched so thin that there's not a shot of them responding to the amount of calls, the plethora of calls that come in, especially on the afternoon and night and later in the evening shifts. There's not enough cops out there. And again, it's a direct result of our recruitment. We have an episode on recruitment. Sergeant Justin Collins and Michelle Calderon came on, discussed the challenges that they had with recruiting. So don't let anyone tell you any different, Miss Johnson. Again, we're sorry for your injuries, but this is the reality of it, folks. Folks, thanks for sticking with us on this podcast. A little dose of reality. Hey, we told you we're going to shoot it down the middle. Finally, common sense has arrived. Real cops, real talk. Go to our YouTube channel at Crime Dawg Podcast. Go to our website, thecrimedawgpodcast.com. You will see in both places our library of videos. Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate it. Have a good night, folks.